change my notes here. Okay, good, thank you. Okay. The special meeting of the Board of Trustees for the town of Green Mountain Falls will come to order at this time. The date is December 30th, 2014. The time is 7:05. Please note that all trustees are here this evening. Yay. So this time, please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for braving the weather and attending this meeting. I think at last count it was -20 or close to -20, at least in my house. I remember the days when no one was interested in town government in Green Mountain Falls. And within 3 years, this has all changed, and we have a full house, so we really have come a long ways here. This time, we're going to recess our meeting for a public hearing on the 2015 Green Mountain Falls budget. So the time is 7:06, and we are now in a public hearing for the budget. And to be as efficient as we can this evening due to time constraints. And we do want to give everyone the opportunity to share with the board. So rather than focusing on the 3-minute rule that is usually in place during public comments, we want to give you guys the opportunity to share with us. And we're going to focus more on efficient and productive conversations tonight. I'm asking for order, respect for the board, and if you agree with something that someone has said, please just stand and state your name and that I agree with so-and-so in order to keep the conversations moving so we're not repeating tonight. Remember, you guys, that we all love Green Mountain Falls. We're all on the same page with that, and so we can all work together tonight. We have received several letters to be read into the record. However, I noticed that everyone who sent a letter in is here this evening. So I want to give you the opportunity to speak on your letter if you would prefer that, instead of me reading that into record. So at this time, we have letters. So I'd start with Jane Newberry. You received your letter. Would you prefer to?
Would you like me to read the letter?
Yes,
Yeah.
you read it. That'd be great. You have. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
I move that because you may or may not all know me. I've lived here a long time, looked into the budget a lot. In my life outside of Green Mountain Falls, I'm responsible for a multi-million-dollar budget in a nonprofit, and I just have a few opinions when it comes to budget. Dear board members, please note I am submitting this today, and this time was December 27th, 2014, for public correspondence. Please treat it as such. Thank you for making the proposed 2015 budget public in accordance with the Colorado Revised Statutes. I was surprised and dismayed at some of your proposed budget items. I do not understand why some of the revenues have jumped so dramatically. Animal licenses have jumped $1,700 plus. Why? Are you going to propose to the voters to increase the fees? Are you going to alter the laws in Green Mountain Falls to allow more dogs? Those were laws that were voted on before the public, and I would suggest that you discuss them publicly before any such action is taken. Highway user fees have dropped by $14,000 plus. Why? That is a state national decision, not a GMF decision. Is that figure available to the public somewhere? That's a huge drop for a town our size. Traffic penalties have jumped up to $31,000. Considering last year's penalties were less than $5K, are you instituting much higher traffic fees? Is it a quota? What happens to the marshal's budget if this budget line is not met? If we go by the current Colorado state, says how many people we have in Green Mountain Falls is approximately 606 people. If we go with $31,000, that's $50 for every man, woman, and child living in Green Mountain Falls. The last time this sort of budget line was proposed by the Marshal's Department, the businesses were very upset and very certain that it was harming their livelihood. Has this been considered? If it was discussed, it was not in a public venue. Miscellaneous revenue of $15,000. What exactly is miscellaneous? If you are counting on donations to flesh out this line, everyone in a nonprofit business can tell you this is a very risky line to budget on. Good luck with that. You've proposed increasing the salaries of 2 of our 3-time full-time employees by several thousands of dollars. For instance, the marshal's salary is going up to $17,000 from 2013. That was the last time he was employed full-time. The clerk's salary will jump by $13,000 since current year of 2014. You've also proposed hiring a full-time deputy at the cost of $34,000, a part-time clerk, and a part-time public works employee. I don't think our small-town budget can justify these sorts of increases. Our road maintenance has slipped, the lake doesn't get plowed, the parks are in poor condition all summer. With the maintenance budget bearing the brunt of the cuts to offset these enormous salary and benefit increases for all other departments, I would not expect that the public appearances of our town to improve any next year or the following years. Without having a beautiful, welcoming appearance, what has GMF become? From looking at the budget, it appears that we will soon be heavily patrolled for lawbreakers, or at least those who will be appearing in traffic court. And since you propose cutting the attorney's fees in half, how are you going to fund and run court? Again, historically, the judge felt overworked, underpaid the last time this sort of quota system was in place. All mail-in penalties, that comes with costs as well, and that doesn't appear to be adequately funded. I have in hand, and I have it tonight, a letter from the Public Information Officer of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office that says they will patrol and they will continue to provide backup for the GMF Marshal as necessary. I'll be happy to share it with you whenever you would like. Please do not be misled by the erroneous statement that El Paso County will not patrol after January 1. That is misleading, and I hope it was made as a misunderstanding. I understand, I well understand, that you feel pressured to submit a budget according to legal timelines. I would strongly encourage you to listen to public concerns and rationally weigh what the town can and cannot afford. Please do so and contact me if I can be of assistance. Does the board have any questions for me? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think, is there enough room here? You want to come and, I think there's right there, right by Margaret. Okay. Thank you. You come in and have a seat. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Gail?
The 2014 budget adopted by the town in December of 2013 listed the salary for the full-time clerk treasurer at $35,537. This to a certified municipal clerk with in excess of 25 years' experience. With all due respect to Ms. Duval, an approximately $9,000 per year increase is totally unwarranted at a time when taxpayers themselves are still taking pay cuts. It seems highly inappropriate to spend $44,000 plus benefits on an inexperienced and uncertified employee. By the way, it was reported in the yesterday and today, and I think also on Sunday, that Colorado Springs lost 3,000 jobs over the past year because there's been an outflux of high-tech jobs. So people are taking pay cuts to keep their jobs in Colorado Springs, and that just trickles down to Green Mountain Falls. The marshal's salary is much the same in the respect that his raise is just over 55% of his and his new full-time deputy actually makes more than the chief's salary in 2013, the marshal's last full year of employment here in Mountain Falls. The maintenance salary seems to be the only ones that stay even close to historic levels. All in all, salaries and salary-related expenses account for roughly 58% of the entire budget. If the submitted figures have any degree of accuracy, it seems to me that the deputy marshal's salary directly coincides with the increase in traffic court revenues. Given the extra expense for judge and attorney fees and court time, how many tickets have to be written for the courts to increase this revenue stream?
Okay, we have one more, Dick Brett.
I'm Dick Bratton. I've been a resident here for 32 years, and I worked on the town budget for 16 years, 8 as a member of that board and 8 as mayor. I'm very familiar with the town budget. I want to first commend this board. You have 5 new members that have never done a town budget before. And for you to come up with anything, I think is really commendable. You had a new town clerk that couldn't give much advice because she wasn't here during other budget sessions. So I don't feel any animosity toward you if there's some deficiencies in the budget. I think you did a good job with the institutional knowledge that you had. Yeah, it got behind schedule. Usually we get the town budget for the next fiscal year approved on the first week of December. This year, it's amazing they came up with something at all. So my feeling is that there are some revenue line items that are not understandable, need to be re-examined, and some of your expenditures have some problems too. I did send the board a letter with my specific comments, but I won't take the time. Just to say that I really spent quite some time looking at your proposed budget compared to the prior years, and I could see some trends, some new ideas, some new initiatives, and I think that's good. And I prepared my letter to you, and then Saturday I went to the post office, and there was a nice group of citizens there handing out this handout, criticizing the budget. I got home, took my letter out, and my golly, it was amazing. Independent analysis, we came up with the same conclusions, in most cases, a couple of exceptions. I won't go into that kind of detail. What I think we need to do is recognize that statutorily, you need to pass a budget tonight, so we don't get into this 90% mess. We don't want to get into there. With the understanding that we're having a public hearing and you're getting a lot of input and ideas that have not been really thoroughly discussed or considered when you're preparing this budget. So it's normal for an original budget to be amended during the fiscal year to reflect changes, more information, different focus, a change in goals. All those things can happen. After all, budget is just a guesstimate. It's based on what you know at the time you prepare it. It cannot foresee changes, and it has to be a flexible document. So you have the opportunity, even early in the fiscal years, in January, to take another look at this budget, take into consideration what you hear tonight, and amend the budget. Amend the budget to make it more realistic, more compatible, and to take advantage of the input you got here tonight. So my recommendation is to meet the statutory deadline, you pass the budget that was post office, so everybody knows that, seen it. That gives you a budget. And then in January, you take a good look at it, discuss it, fine tune it, so it fits the situation.
Thank you. Okay. You guys, that takes care of the correspondence that we did receive. I'm sure many of you have come tonight in order to speak. So at this time, if you would like to speak, please let me know. Stand up and state your name. And do we have anyone in the audience that would like to comment on anything?
Margaret Peterson, 107 Northwest Belvedere. I've been a resident of Blue Mountain Falls for 50 years. And many of you know, prior to me being a corrupt politician for the last 18 months, my father was politically active in Blue Mountain Falls for a number of years. He was the mayor here, or not the mayor, he was the mayor pro tem, he was the magistrate, he was on council for a number of years. So I grew up, I mean, basically, I'm your daughters. Those of you that have teenage daughters, I'm your daughters. You know, my dad was on council, my dad was the mayor pro tem. He was actively involved. And just, I agree with all of the facts and figures and the numbers that are here. I deal with a lot of numbers myself as a financial aid administrator, and I understand the importance of budgeting and having your revenues in balance. The other thing that I understand is the importance of audit, and I would really like to recommend that you guys have a good, thorough audit this year, especially with all the town hall, with all the changes that have happened. That will be one of probably the best things that you could do for yourselves to keep yourselves on track. The other thing I would like to see, if the budget is passed tonight, is a definite commitment to follow through to adjust for what needs to be adjusted. Regarding the police, I would like to know if you guys have pursued at all the opportunity that we had offered to us for a substation for El Paso County and for State Patrol. You know, that was offered to us at no additional cost. We supply the space, they supply the equipment. And I'm sorry, Green Mountain Falls does not need to be a police state. We do not want police here. The citizens I know don't want police. This is Green Mountain Falls, we want a marshal. We want somebody who is on our roads, driving around, not on the highway running the gun. We just need to have the revenues reflect what the town really needs. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else tonight? Mr. Lowndes, would you like?
Yeah, I would like to say
Okay. I saw you. I was thinking.
I'm John Lowndes. I live on Colorado Street. I've been here for 15 years now. Spent 13 years on the Planning Commission. And although we're a divided community, I think everybody here wants to see the good for Green Mountain Falls. One of the things that I see a lot as a realtor is people used to say, I love Green Mountain Falls. I love going to the pantry, the lake. And then it became, I don't want to go there. It's a speed trap. You people can't get along. You look foolish and all those things. I want to see us work together to right those items.
Did you? Yeah.
Oh.
He was wondering where his pen went.
It is rich.
He was wondering where his pen went there.
Or is this because now you did talk beside you?
Okay. Okay, you guys, so no more comments from the audience.
I have one in the interest of full disclosure, and truthfully, I kind of forgot about it. I did receive a call from Douglas Bruce, you know, the author of Tabor, and he said, please be sure and tell the mayor and the board, if they don't disclose Tabor, if they don't set aside for Tabor, they are subject to litigation. I'm not threatening, I'm passing on what was told to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, no other comments? And at this time, public hearing is closed at 7:39? No, 7:34. 7:34, Mary. And we are back in the regular meeting at this time. And this Trustee Butts, I'd like to just turn this over to you.
I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's cold. I know everybody likes to be in their living room. So for those that sent in questions ahead of time, I met with Mary earlier today, and we kind of broke things up. She's going to kind of go over the points that were made on the revenue side. I'm going to take the expenditure side. She's delved into that and knows that inside and out. So I'm going to turn it over to Mary to talk about that.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm glad also to see such a great turnout. It'd be nice if we could have this every board meeting. There's some faces here I don't really know. And for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Mary Duvall. I am your town clerk / treasurer / court clerk. And I have been here since the 1st of August and have definitely have had my hands full. I would also like to take a few minutes to share a little bit about my background. I have 25 plus years in experience in the administrative field. And early on in my career, I was an accountant for the Head Start program. We served 3 counties. It was over a $1.5 million budget. I was responsible for that budget, and I'm proud to say that I lived through several clean audits while working there. I also have several classes behind me in accounting, and throughout from that big, what I consider a big position as in accounting. Throughout my career since then, I've had several positions that had to do with accounting, and I believe all of my education and my experience has enabled me to carry out the responsibilities as your town clerk. Most recently, probably in the last 8-9 years, I've held positions where I wasn't so much focused on the accounting side, but rather creating and managing budgets. So that's just a little bit about who I am and my background, and onto the budget concerns. I too, I loved seeing all the input that you guys put in. I like to see the enthusiasm that was shown and your interest in this town and the finances. And as Trustee Buck said, I'm going to cover the revenue side. He's going to cover the expense side. And let's see. When it comes to the revenues, the projected revenues were based on actual 2014 revenues. Some were lower, some were higher, but it was based on money that we had actually received, and unfortunately, some of the line items for 2014 were over budgeted. The revenues were. And I made adjustments to that for the 2015. That's why some line items you're going to see where they are, half of what was budgeted for 2014, because that's all the money we got for 2014. The concern regarding the court revenue, this was based on what we have actually collected in the last 3 to 4 months. We have been averaging, I'm going to back up and say the budget was based on approximately 15 citations a month, and by times the court fees and fine fees, that's how, and actually I'm under about 15,000 from what is projected, based on what we have previously collected. And that's with just one person in our law enforcement. In 2015, there's going to be another full-time staff person along with 6 reserves, and having the added staff will give way to more eyes on the road And quite frankly, this is the only area that I hope I'm wrong in, because that means that people are driving more carefully than they have in the last 4 months. And other area that seemed to be pretty prevalent in everybody's letter that they sent was the miscellaneous revenues. Yes, some of this was based on donations that have been committed to for 2015. And the people that had come and expressed their willingness to give the town hall money was for mainly needs that still need to be done here in the building. And they were told to hold off on contributing. We want to, as the board and staff, want to get together and look at what the priorities are and the needs, and then make a list, make it available to the public, and then at that time they can see where their money is going with. So that was part of the reason. The 2014 was miscellaneous revenue. Some of that was your sale of assets, which happened right after I started working here. And instead of putting it in sale of asset line item that I didn't know existed, it went into miscellaneous. So, and there was probably about $5,500, $6,000 worth of sale of assets. We sold 2 or 3 vehicles, maintenance, dump trucks, I don't know what all was sold. But. And then the rest of that were refunds and overpayments. This happened long before I started. That was documented. Refunds and fees and permits and whatever. So that's hopefully covers the miscellaneous concerns. The last item that I want to address is your animal license fee. You guys are right on top of things. I am so glad that you brought that to my attention, because that is an error. Quite frankly, the line item underneath that was pool emissions, and that's the number that I used. So that has been taken out of we're not going to increase your animal license fees. We're not going to bring in more dogs. We're going to instead adjust the budget line item. And on top of that, our conservation trust revenue was way under budgeted. And that was due to not getting our last payment in. And I had no idea what that last payment was going to be. So I based our 2015 revenue on what our 2014 was at that time. I originally budgeted $9,000 for 2015 conservation trust revenue, $11,575. So I adjusted the revenue up to 10.8. So all other revenues are based on actual revenues we received in 2014. Those that were over budgeted, I did not over budget it again this year. I put what we actually got. I think that's all I have to cover, and I'll turn it over to Trustee Butts to talk about the. Oh, wait a minute, I do have one other thing.
How about you?
Tabor, okay. I too have talked to people at Tabor, and what we need to do for Tabor is we do not need a separate account for Tabor. We do need to show it when we send it to in our budget that is sent to the state. Tabor is 3% of your budget. And all we have to do is show that we have that money in our bank account as of December 31st. So, and our Tabor for next year is $14,066. Okay. There was, one of you addressed the retirement, because we are all new staff. We are not eligible for retirement until after a year. So the rest of, me, I'm not eligible until September of next year. So my retirement, if I choose to have the board, I did the maximum, what they could pay into my retirement for the last 3-4 months of the year. And that was the same for Ken and Michael. So to take the full amount and times it by 5%, you're not going to get what I came up with. I think that's it.
If you think of others, we'll go back. One thing before we get started on the expense side. Earlier today, it was discovered that the posted budget was taken down from the website. I happened to be here when Mary learned about that. She called the people that host this to find out why. And the last request that they showed for our website was on December the 16th to post the budget. And they showed no new request of any kind, and they can't explain why it's down, why it was taken down. They offered to put it back up.
I will note for the record, though, that the copy for inspection has been available at Town Hall, which is essentially the baseline for what the statute requires. So, although the board directed and said we're going to put it on the website, that didn't happen. That doesn't void the compliance with the state statute.
And it was up there. I think it was noted today on Facebook, which is always the go-to for. It was noted that it's been up there for a while. So. Nobody likes to get read to, and so I'm going to apologize in advance. Got a lot of numbers I'm going to go over, but I'll try to speak loud enough, so slowly enough for y'all to catch anything, loud enough for the replay to catch anything that may be missed. For those that attended the 3 different public hearings, to Cameron's point earlier, we did some account deck cleanup, trying to consolidate some accounting categories. We also looked at segregating fixed versus discretionary spending, so we can tell more what's needed to spend in this town and where we can make some adjustments. Also added some definitions to these to make it easier for when we have a receipt, where does this need to go to? So the accounting stays clean, and we can budget from year to year on more consistent numbers. So there's a category, it's labor, and it should be fairly clear what that definition should be. But on the definition, we changed it from salary to salary approved by Board of Trustees. This was to ensure that at the end of the year, the budgeted amount is the same as the actual amount. Several of the comments on the emails were having to do with compensation. And it is true that it looks like pay has gone up, but this is only when you look at the budgeted numbers. When compared to the actual figures, we're consistent in the admin department, we're down in the maintenance, and we're higher in the marshals. So this is where the apology.
2014, and interested taxpayers were given the opportunity to file or register any objections to said proposed budget. And whereas whatever increases may have been made in the expenditures, like increases were added to the revenues so that the budget remains in balance as required by law. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado. And this is the breakdown. General, operations, administrative, legislative, attorney salaries and benefits, $140,594. Judicial, $10,930. Public safety, police, $149,580. Public works, $136,514. Open space, recreation, parks, pool salaries, benefits and operations, $21,875. Lease payment, $9,400. And that's a total of $468,893. The estimated revenues for each fund are as follows. General property tax levy, El Paso County and Teller counties, $149,698. Specific ownership taxes, $12,477. Taxes such as sales, use, and lodging, and tobacco, $107,300. Conservation trust, $10,800. Franchise fees, $39,650. State highway user fees, $16,350. Rural Transportation Authority, carryover from previous year, $39,868. Municipal pool revenues, $7,100. Court fines, fees, and surcharges, $33,000. And other revenue sources, $52,650. And that brings that total to $468,893. The contingency reserve is $13,870. And the tabor is $14,066. The budget as submitted, amended, and hereby summarized by fund is hereby approved and adopted as the budget of the Town of Green Mountain Falls for the year 2015. The budget hereby approved and adopted shall be, do I need to read all of this? Signed by me, mayor, the town clerk, and made part of the public records of the Town of Green Mountain Falls. And if any article, section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution is held to be unconstitutional or invalid for any reason, such decisions shall not affect the validity or constitutionality of the remaining portions of the resolution. The Board of Trustees hereby declares that it would have passed this resolution in each part, irrespective of the fact that any one part or parts be declared unconstitutional. Section 5 is the repeal existing resolutions or parts of resolutions covering the same matters embraced in the resolution are hereby repealed, and all resolutions or parts of resolutions that's consistent with the provisions of this resolution are hereby repealed. So that's what that is for.
And those figures will represent the budget that was presented with the small changes.
Yes. Yes.
Move to approve?
Okay, there's a
Second.
second. Okay, discussion? Okay, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next. Okay, and the second resolution, and as Trustee Butt said, my apologies for having to read this, but I have to read these. This is Resolution 24-14-12-30B. It's a resolution levying general property taxes for the year of 2014 to help defray the cost of government for the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, for the 2015 budget. So this is the recertification of the mill levy. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, pursuant to Colorado statute and the Town of Green Mountain Falls Municipal Code, is vested with the authority of administrating the affairs of the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Green Mountain Falls will review and adopt the annual budget in accordance with the local government budget law on December 30th, 2014. Whereas the anticipated amount of money necessary to balance the budget for general operating purposes from property tax revenue is $141,698. Whereas the 2014 valuation assessment for the town of Green Mountain Falls, as certified by the El Paso County Assessor, is $8,092,510. And whereas the 2014 valuation assessment for the town of Green Mountain Falls, as certified by the Teller County Assessor, is $453,480. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls as follows. 1, for the purpose of meeting all general operating expenses for the town of Green Mountain Falls during the 2015 budget year, there is hereby levied a tax of 17.588 mils upon each dollar of the total valuation for assessment of all taxable property within the town of Green Mountain Falls for the year of 2014. The 17.588 mil levy will result in the anticipated receipt of $141,698 in property taxes from El Paso County and Teller counties combined. Town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to immediately certify to the county commissioners of El Paso County and Teller County, Colorado, the mill levy for the town of Green Mountain Falls, as determined and set up based upon the final November certification evaluation from the El Paso County Assessor and the Teller County Assessor. If any article, section, sentence, clause of this resolution is held to be unconstitutional or invalid for any reason, such decisions shall not affect the validity or constitutionality of the remaining portions. And the Board of Trustees hereby declares that it would pass this resolution, each part thereof, irrespective of the fact. And then if the repeal is any parts covering the same matters embraced in this resolution are hereby repealed, and all resolution or parts inconsistent with the provision are hereby repealed. So this is the recertification moment. Is there a motion? Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Discussion. And all those in favor vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. And then board, finally, the emergency ordinance, ordinance 2030-2014A. It's an emergency ordinance appropriating sums of money to the various funds and spending agencies in the amounts and for the purpose as set forth below for the town of Green Mountain Falls for the 2015 budget year. Whereas the Board of Trustees for the town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, pursuant to Colorado statute and the town of Green Mountain Falls Municipal Code, is vested with the authority of administering the affairs of the town of Green Mountain Falls. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Green Mountain Falls has adopted the annual budget in accordance with local government budget law on December 30th, 2014. And whereas the Board of Trustees has made provision therein for revenues in an amount equal to or greater than the total proposed expenditures as set forth in said budget. And whereas it is not only required by law, but also necessary to appropriate the revenues, reserves, and fund balances provided into and for the purposes described below, therefore establishing a limitation on expenditures for the operations of the town of Green Mountain Falls. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Trustees of the town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, the following sums of money are hereby appropriated from the revenue of each fund to each fund for the purposes so stated below. And these are the same numbers as before, but I'm going to read them to you again. General property tax levy for El Paso and Teller counties, that's $149,698. Specific ownership taxes from the two counties, $12,477. Taxes for lodging, tobacco, sales use, $107,300. Conservation trust, $10,800. Franchise fees, $39,650. State highway user fees, $16,350. Rural Transportation Authority, carryover, $39,868. Municipal pool, $7,100. Court, $33,000. Other revenue resources, $52,650 for a total of $468,893. Contingency is $13,870, and FEMA reserve is $14,066. And we have the two same severity and repeal sections that you guys have heard already. So, on section 4, I do need to read publication and effective date. This ordinance is necessary for the immediate protection and preservation of the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the town of Greenmount Falls for the reasons described above, and therefore shall become effective immediately as an emergency ordinance upon adoption by the town board. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Yes.
I have a question for the town attorney. Within that appropriation expenditures, is that where we comment with respect to hiring, or is that a separate decision?
No, I think, I think as the drafter of the policies, I think the hiring policy is that the board would authorize hiring. So if the board has authorized something up till now, probably rectify that. And if it's the intent that the board doesn't authorize hiring right now, until they revisit it and put it on the agenda and reauthorize it then. But I'm not aware of anything that's outstanding authorized specifically, although there might be contemplated and anticipated. I don't know that anything's been authorized that I'm aware of.
So we have budgeted, but we haven't moved forward.
I think you've set aside the funds, but haven't tied them to a specific person yet.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. Okay. Okay. So any more comments, questions? No? Okay. I just want to say again, thank you to everyone. Thank you to citizens for getting involved. And thank you for coming out tonight. If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned at 8:15. Thank you.